What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 87 of the Offshore Gamescast. I'm Dave, um, and that's the end of my start. All right, go.
I'm Dylan, and that's the end of my start.
And I'm Lile, and that's only the beginning of my start. No.
Oh wow! All right, Lyle, take it away.
So today, no.
All right,
Dave?
today.
Oh, Dylan, sorry.
Dave?
I'm sorry.
I didn't play this game.
Today we're talking about Like a Dragon Ishin. I played this game a lot the last couple of days. So last week we did Blanc. That was a lot of fun. We talked basically the length of the game. We went way longer than I thought we would, but that's because we're just having so much fun. So go check that out. And then next week
talked about butts.
we did, yeah, we did all that.
All the good stuff.
Next week we'll be talking about Atomic Heart, and then March 21st, The Pale Beyond. Lots of fun stuff coming up. Don't forget, you can check this out on YouTube if you're not already here to see all the gameplay we got up. You can see our wonderful faces, especially Dave's. It's so wonderful. And Lyle, you put out a review recently.
I have. I put out a review of Deliver Us the Moon, and also more recently a review of Deliver Us Mars. So that's a game and its sequel, and you can check them both out. Space.
Next week we'll be covering Deliver Us in 30 minutes or less.
Yes. And the hospital said no, but we said yes.
Lyle's Indie Corner. Go check it out. Great stuff there. All right, let's jump into this. This might be a little confusing. I tried to do my best to explain the story of this game as concisely as I could. All right, Like a Dragon Ishin, developed by Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio, known for the Yakuza games. Published by Sega, this came out on
Sega.
There it is. All right. Came out on February 23rd, 2023 on the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and S and PC. It's good to see these games there. There was a time it wasn't coming to Xbox right away.
It wasn't coming to Xbox at all.
That's true.
And then they made the giant push, and they were like, shit, I think the West really likes these games.
Yeah, and they're like this isn't on Game Pass, but all the older ones. Maybe not all of them. A lot of them are on Game Pass.
We've mentioned this before, but I love the fact of just the amount of times I've gone into GameStop over the years and just, without even noticing, walked by Yakuza so many times. And then I just pick it up one day because of you, and it's like, shit, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like pretty much with Yakuza 0. I know, obviously, it's been a wrong running.
It's terrible.
Day's a day.
Long running franchise. But it really felt like with Yakuza 0, that's where it took a big jump to be a little bit more into the mainstream. So, this is a remake of Ryu Ga Gotoku Ishin. That came out in Japan as a PS4 launch title. I think it was on PS3 too. It was one of those that kind of like did both consoles.
I was gonna say it makes it. I remember seeing it for PS3. I had no idea that it came out for PS4 as well.
Yeah, only in Japan. So this is the first time anyone outside of Japan can play this in their native language.
God, I hate fucking level gating.
Level gating? Oh, the world version.
Yeah.
I mean, Japan would be far beyond us.
Literally. Oh, it's insane.
So, this takes place in 1860s Japan. And it's during the end of the Edo period, and it is very much so based on real people and real events in history, with Yakuza characters put into those real people's roles, if you will.
I got a question, and I forget if we talked about this before, but since it's based off like true stuff, is this also fully in like the universe? Are these semi ancestors, or are these just like?
No, so I thought they maybe were, but after looking it up, the general consensus is like, no, this is not canon. These are not their ancestors. because these are based on real people.
But they have the faces of the
Yes.
Yakuza character. Okay.
Yes.
Except for Judgment.
There's are there any Judgment characters in here?
No, they can't. They're not allowed to.
No, but they did add Yakuza 7, like a dragon, characters into this, and Yakuza 0, because both of those games were not out before the original one of this, so they added those in there to make it a little more modern for the Yakuza fans. All right, so you play as Sakamoto Ryoma, who real person, but played by Kiryu, as we all know and love, the main protagonist throughout most of the Yakuza games. Lyle, I know you're not super familiar with the Yakuza games, so I'll try and
You
explain
go
who the
ahead.
people
I
are.
just sit here and be confused for like an hour. It's totally fine.
Have you ever seen a guy in a white suit on a Yakuza game?
I know the main. I know the
Okay.
main dude.
So he's still the main dude here. He's very much so. Still Kiryu. If the way they blend together the Yakuza characters into these real historical figures, it's still very much Yakuza. They're all pretty much exactly how they are in the Yakuza games.
Do they do like an 1860s like white jacket pantsuit 1860s attire reveal at the end of the game?
No.
Damn.
No, they don't.
Because that would have been sick.
As we covered, not the ancestor. So, Sakamoto Ryoma left his hometown of Tosa to go to Edo to train and become a samurai. And the game starts with him returning back to Tosa. So he was gone, I think, a couple years, maybe a year. And Tosa sucks.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading, and it makes my brain reads toes sucker. That's what I read. Toes sucker.
Nope. Tosa just sucks. So there's different classes basically that's very rigid, and this is all based on real Tosa at the time. But even samurais were separated into like upper class and lower class samurais. So Goshi were the lower class, that's what you are. And then there's Joshis, which are upper class samurai. And to kind of show this whole difference, these Joshis were walking through town as you came back. And so those are the upper class samurai. And everyone pretty much has to move to the side and get down and bow for them. Meanwhile, this lady, her daughter is incredibly sick and needs to see a doctor pretty much right away or potentially die. And so she's not bowing. She's like, no, I gotta go. And that was basically like, okay, well, too bad. You're gonna bow down. I don't give a fuck if your daughter dies. You are below me. That was a representation of what things were like. Of course, Kiryu, Ryoma jumped in, got into a fight, and got arrested, as happens. But
do you play the fight?
No.
Do a group of hoodlums try to throw rocks at the sick girl, but then you catch it and then you beat the shit out of them?
No, but later on, I won't go into detail. A bunch of hoodlums are throwing rocks at a dog.
Oh, yep. Uh-huh.
And you're not the one that grabs the rock and throws it back, but you're there, and that does happen, and I'll leave it at that.
So this is the Millennium Tower blowing up of these games. Saving dogs.
Things do end up on fire. There are maybe not explosions, but there's destruction.
This is very separate but it's stuck in my head because I it's very comical the way those scenes play out of just like, here, let's throw a rock, and then he catches it like a badass. I'm playing Octopath Traveler 2, and very early on, it made me think of this scene because you're walking up to these two hoodlums who are like cowering over like a dog. Except they're gonna stab it and slice it up, and I'm just like, oh, this is different.
You do not hurt dogs in games.
No, I killed them.
Daughters
I
don't
them.
care. Dogs, you
let
gotta
the
watch
daughter
out.
die. Worship the Goshi, but don't touch that damn dog.
Exactly.
No.
So you go meet with your father, Yoshida Toyo, who's not really your father, played by Shintaro Kazuma from the Yakuza games. Dave, I'm sure you're gonna start to see the themes here of, hey, this person in the Yakuza games who is your father but not your father. Of course, they make that character the guy in this game who's your father but not your father.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
It just seems like ancient Yakuza 0. But you know what? That's fine.
it kind of.
Do we... Here, I'm not even going to ask. I'm going to look through. I'm going to look through the notes and see if I find our boy anywhere.
Who's our boy?
Our boy, man.
Who's our boy, man?
He's our boy, man, dude.
Who's our boy, man, dude?
Man, come on. He's our guy, boy, man.
I mean, you said
I
it makes me think
found
of
him. It's all right. I found him.
Is it Majima?
Of course it is.
Oh yeah, yes. I don't think they can make a game like this without him in it.
Oh, it's...
He's a main
son?
Yeah, he's very much that. He's here. He's Majima.
Sakamoto-chan.
But we will get to that. So your brother, not Majima.
I'm sorry in advance of how much is gonna go completely over your head, Lyle.
As I said, I'm just gonna sit here and be confused. It's totally
You'll
fine.
you'll get a history lesson.
Yeah, we'll make you want to play the first one.
Uh-huh.
You also meet your brother, not your brother, Takechi Hampita, who I don't know. Do you remember the final boss in Yakuza 0, Dave, on the boat?
Yeah.
That's
I'm on
him.
the boat.
Yeah,
and
scenes play out better. Characters and faces, not as much. But I'm like, oh, boat? Yeah. Fire. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's him. And they name you the party rep for the Tosa Loyalist Party, who is run by that's run by the two of them. This is
Is
think
this
of
like a
little
green party? Did they support
It's a little
weed?
revolution. No,
Oh.
it's a little revolution group
No
that
vote for me.
has his plan to basically disband the whole class system in Tosa and implement a new political system, if you will. So you kind of jump right in with them. You're like, yeah, fuck this stupid class system. It's not good for the common people. It's only benefiting the leeches of society. His right-hand man, Takechi's, Okada Izo, played by Nishiki from Yakuza 0. Well, really from the first Yakuza, but Yakuza 0. He's in his, slicked back hair, angry phase. not his original phase.
His Yakuza 1 phase. This plot story will not work without an entire game before it phase.
Well, he's jealous, and he's your first boss fight. I just wanted to highlight that because I'm trying to highlight the main Yakuza people along the way.
No, I get it.
Here.
I'll just wait 5 years when Yakuza Like a Dragon to Ishin 0 comes out, and then I'll finally understand.
There is Ryu Ga Gotoku Kessen, which takes place like 100 years before this, which is the same type of idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's historical Japan with the Yakuza characters. So just wanted to highlight that. But then later on, you're having a little Tosa loyalist party meeting with your dad not dad and brother not brother. And, well, things go bad. So Toyo reveals his plan, starting this revolution, and then this masked man comes breaking in and just slices him up and kills him. Takechi runs after him. You're left there. You call him Pops, as you would in the Yakuza games, and I'm sure that's not historically accurate.
No. Pops! Daddy-o!
Guards come rushing in, and they see you over this dead body. Are like, you killed him! What have you done? So now you have to run.
Have we seen this before?
You do catch up with the masked man. And that is kind of your first little bit challenging boss fight. The first one, not Nishiki, is pretty easy. And you find out he has this very unique fighting style that you've never seen before. You don't yeah, Lyle, just like that. No, it's he has a sword and he holds it up it's a katana. And he holds it kind of upside down with the butt of it against his hand here. And you can't beat him. He's too strong.
Oh, my ears. He's too strong with his katana
Yes.
held the wrong way.
Nichi!
You fight him. You don't win. He gets away, and you basically have to flee Tosa because now you're wanted as the murderer. So you have to flee and try to find this masked man killer to prove your innocence. Yes, Lyle.
That
Lyle!
sounds like Shenmue. Is he the final boss of the game?
Shenmue's like, I would say a more RPG-esque version
I
of
know.
Yakuza.
I just meant the story.
No. That's the thing. I want to play those, but it's like
Oh, I don't know if you want to.
it's like reading Akatar. Once you read Akatar, nothing else is good enough. Once you play Yakuza, like I want to play Shenmue, I just know I'll be disappointing.
Yeah, I would think so too.
If you know anything, if you are a fan of the Yakuza games, you will know that this is not a surprise. That that masked man is not the final boss. There is
Goddamn.
so much more to it than that, and
Yakuza games have like 30 final bosses. You get to the end and it's like another 10 hours and it's like, oh, but this just happened. And it's like, what? It's like, the game hasn't ended yet because Millennium Tower hasn't blown up. Like, that's how you know.
It starts you with one thing, and that always peels back another layer of like, oh, here's what's actually going on. And you start exploring that, and that peels off another layer of like, oh, you're one step closer to the truth. That type of thing. So
okay.
no, not the final boss.
Still confused, but I'm in.
So you flee Tosa, and then it does a time jump to 1 year later. You are now in Kyoto, which is the fictional version of Kyoto, kind of how they do like Kamurocho is a fictional version based on part of Tokyo. It's based on that, but not actually that. Under the name Saito Hajime. That is your fake name, so no one knows who you are. I will say that is a very common theme throughout this game, people using fake names. So some of the characters that I will mention here, I will mention by a name that may not be their actual real name, but I don't want to give anything away.
So desu ka. My name is Stephen King.
Stephen King is not here.
Pops!
I will say there is a I believe he's British. This is a very side thing, but there is this British guy for a sub story who's like, I just want to learn about everything Japan. I don't care how dangerous it is. Like, I just want to sit down with people and just know their stories, and I want to like journal it. And then I was just looking into stuff, and turns out that was a real person who wrote about Sakamoto Ryoma after meeting him there while he was under his fake name.
Mate, I'm trying to write about.
Cool.
I'm trying to write.
It is pretty cool.
I'm trying to write about Japan. Can you tell me how to get to the station?
It is not quite that. So this is where most of the game is going to take place. This is kind of the game's Kamurocho. I will say much less memorable than Kamurocho, but it is that.
Does it have the style of like the towns in Legends Arceus, where it's like the olden, just like kind of one story, sort of like shacks and stuff?
Not quite that, because it is still like more of a city part than a town.
Okay.
So it'll be more like you're staying at an inn that is 2 stories, and then right near you is kind of like the alley of shops, which are really just kind of like little stands, if you will.
Are there saloon doors?
No. I don't know if they had saloon doors.
Does it
in
evoke
1860s Japan?
1860s Japan for you?
It looks pretty ancient Japan to me.
That's nice.
Which I guess, well, maybe ancient is maybe strong, but
yeah.
But it looks like old Japan. Yes.
Okay.
As an expert, of course.
Yeah.
After playing this game,
you're the only one out of the 3 of us who've stepped foot in a single Japan.
Yeah, I've been to not only one Japan, but the Japan.
Yeah, you went on a train. You brought your sword.
No, I didn't do that. That would be. I don't think they would let me in if I tried coming in with a sword.
Everyone kept questioning why this white guy kept walking around going, oh. We'll
get there. So, this inn is run by Otose, who is Mirai Park. I don't know if you remember from Yakuza 5, Dave. The Haruko's like talent agent who turned out to be Goro Majima's wife.
Yeah, in the later games is when it starts to get foggier.
So that's her. And kind of her like assistant Oreo, who is Yuki from Yakuza 0, who was the top hostess at Club Sunshine, which was Majima's like big mini game, the hostess club. And you're trying to find this masked man based off the fighting style, which you know as Tenin Rishin. So that's kind of your big lead here. You know that your journey over the last year has led you here to Kyo. This is kind of like the last known spot of anyone using that fighting style. Through some informants, you meet Nobore Matsuke, who is Akiyama, and Saigo Kichinosuke, who is Ryuji Go. Also, I'm just going to say I'm probably mispronouncing and butchering these names. Just throwing that out there. Ryuji Goda, who is, Dave, you remember Yakuza 2 antagonist, big, buff, blonde guy?
The
other dragon.
Oh, yeah.
So that's him.
He's the, oh, what is it? No, that's Game of Thrones.
This is definitely not Game of Thrones.
No, it's the fucking dude from Rocky. I keep thinking it's called Drogo, but that's Game of Thrones. It's the other dude. It's the dude played by Dolph Lundgren.
I've never actually watched a Rocky movie, so
he's basically like the four. He comes up. He goes, "I will break you."
Is he?
Oh,
the
that's
bad
a Russian dude, right?
Yeah, I can never remember his name. I will break you.
Well, Ryuji Goda and his counterpart of Kichinosuke are Japanese, not Russian.
Good to know.
Ivan,
Thank you for noting that.
Ivan Drago.
Of course. No relation. So they lead you to the Shinsengumi, which is like a special law enforcement group that's meant to stop rebel groups, kind of like uprising against the government. And their higher-ups are the only ones that are known to practice this fighting style. So what else is there to do but join their ranks to try and get to know these higher-ups and kind of sneak your way into your main goal of finding who this masked man is. So
Ninja style.
Yeah, you sneak in there. So you go for a tryout,
Nice.
and you fight one of the captains right away as kind of a tryout. Nagakura Shinpachi, who is Saejima from the games. And you also find another captain, Okita Soji, who most well known as Goro Majima, one of the main players of the Yakuza games. And they both use that fighting style.
Huh?
And yes, he has an eye patch.
Yeah.
It's not like the modern black eye patch. It is like it's like a little rope that goes around and this cool stone thing over his eye.
Ooh.
So they made it work for the time. I'm
Gesundheit.
sure the real person, Okita Soji, did not have an eye patch, but you know, Majima. So they both use that fighting style, and Vice Commander Hijitaka Toshizo, who is Mine, the main antagonist of Yakuza 3. You remember him, Dave? He was part of like the Nishiki family originally. He was like the businessman.
I see that. 3 and 4 is where the memory slips out the most, mainly because of 3 of how much it pissed me off.
Yeah, that one doesn't. That one out of all of them needs a full-on like Kiwami.
Oh God, and change this narrative while you're at it. Like,
No, let me spend all my days at the orphanage.
okay, you can keep the orphanage, but just make it better.
So he takes notice of your skill and is pretty much, hey, you're gonna be a captain now. We have this open spot. You're extremely strong. Captain. So you infiltrated the ranks pretty quickly.
How convenient.
Yes. And they have this all basically set up like the Tojo clan, Dave. So when you go to your meetings, instead of like sitting kind of like, you know, there's 2 sides of the Tojo clan meetings.
The
with chairs. You're like sitting on the floor on these pillows, yeah.
With your
and
knees
you have like the
knees,
higher ups.
You're all respectful and not killing each other.
Yeah, and the higher ups are like towards the back, facing everyone.
Getting his toes sucked.
No, there's no toe sucking here. It's tosa, and it sucks.
Toes suck.
Mm. Yeah.
Toe sucking.
Oh, I'm not gonna go down the list. All the captains are other Yakuza characters. A lot from Zero. They really got that in there. And that there is the first few chapters of the game.
Is
and
our
pretty much
detective
the
guy
main-
there?
Date? Yes, he is there. Not
Yeah,
there.
Date-san.
He's not part of this
Put him-
group, but he is in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, Date-san.
So that's pretty much a kickoff of you're here infiltrating this group. They are Dave. Do you remember from when they announced it? You're running. It showed a very cinematic trailer of a lot of these characters running with like these like bright blue attire.
Kimono?
I don't know if they are kimonos because they wear them like over their kimonos.
Okay.
But that's this group that you're joining. So you get one of those bright blue ones that you're always rocking after that.
Okay.
So that the whole main gist of the game is you're infiltrating this group to figure out who the masked man is, who the killer of your pops is, while also navigating the political aspect of this potential revolution, trying to fix this whole class system, trying to fix Japan, because this is also when like Western ships landed in Japan and there was a lot of change happening. There was a group that wanted everything to stay very traditional Japan and not let any foreigners in. More people were more accepting of that. It was a big part of Japan's history and where it ended up going for Japan. So you're kind of like going through that, and I'm cutting the story setup there because it's a lot already, and that is only the first 2 or 3 chapters of the game. So
My brain hurts.
I want
Yeah.
a supercut of you saying just every name from the previous section and just hear what that sounds like.
We're gonna make a short out of that.
yeah, there was a lot of names in there. I tried to strike a good balance there of people that know the Yakuza games being familiar with these characters while also trying to make it understandable for people who have no idea who they are.
I think it's very interesting. How much of this is real history? Do you know?
So the nitty gritty details are not historically accurate, but pretty much any major political event that happens in this game. So like the Shinsengumi, that was a very real group. Saito Hajime, who we'll kind of touch on that later, but Saito Hajime, Ryoma's alias, was a captain of that group. Ryoma did flee under an alias. He did at any political event that like the Tosa Loyalist Party with those people, very real. Like that all
cool.
happened.
Assassin's Creed Ishin.
No, Assassin's Creed is.
Please no.
I'm
Please
gonna
no.
go ahead and say this is more accurate than the Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah, please no.
Are you trying to tell me that Leonardo da Vinci didn't exist?
Yep. He's
Are you
fake.
trying to tell me George Washington was fake?
Leonardo da Vinci is based off the Ninja Turtle.
Are you trying to tell me Ezio Auditore da Firenze isn't from Firenze? Like, are you kidding me?
No, he's that part's real.
And then he had
Inventor and a half shell?
an uncle called Mario.
Yeah, that's also
It's me,
Mario's real.
Mario. Oh, I love Mario.
All right, let's jump into the combat here now. Let's start to get into some real gameplay. There are 4 fighting styles, which, if you are a fan of Yakuza games, is a very familiar concept. So you have the swordsman, the gunman, the wild dancer, and the brawler.
I want to be the wild dancer.
That is what I was for pretty much the whole game, even though it's not what they wanted me to be. So
Until you found the gun.
you start with the gun.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it does a thing where each style is meant to be used in different scenarios. I think most recently in Lost Judgment, that works really well, and I find myself switching a lot. I did not find that as useful of a strategy here. So swordsman is just you with your katana. And it's supposed to be kind of this is the main style they pushed for the game. It's meant to be a good balance of offense and defense. It's really good for like guarding and parrying, while also dishing out your typical like light and heavy attack combos. And their whole thing is that it's meant to be used for one-on-one boss fights. The gunman is just the gun, and it's really only useful for when enemies are far away from you. I had no success with the gun in close range combat.
Dylan, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, what is your opinion on if a
Mhm.
game like this were to release and you were to get into the battle? Now,
Right.
instead of picking what what fighting stance you want beforehand, when you enter in the battle, both the bumpers and the triggers are one of each fighting stance, and you hold it and then hit of the 4 attack buttons to then execute attacks, but then you can let go and then pick another one on the fly.
You can switch fighting styles on the fly with the D-pad.
We're talking about something different here. I'm trying to build games for the future.
Without a D-pad.
Yeah, so
the
using the shoulder
D-pad.
buttons instead of the D-pad.
But here's the thing: you would have you'd be like, I want to shoot a gun, so you'd hold left trigger, and then boom, 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 and then middle of that, you're like, I want to hit him with a sword, so you hit right bumper, and you're like, boom, and then you're like, after that, I'm like, I want to kiss him, so you walk up to him and you look him in the eyes and let him know how meaningful and strong he is.
So, you can hit left on the D-pad to pull out a gun and go boom, 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 and then hit right on the D-pad to pull out a sword and attack him. There's no kissing button though.
What was
That's
my next
what Dave's
question?
building.
I'm building the kissing simulator, the Yakuza kissing simulator.
That basically exists though. That like these games are
Yeah.
unabashedly horny. They are not. They're not
They are
shy about it.
unabashedly what?
Horny.
Horny. Horny
Yes.
jail. Bonk.
Oh yeah. No. Oh yeah. Well, this game needs to go to horny jail. We'll get there.
The kimono unzips and unties, drops to the ground, and Q just looks him in the eyes and goes, looks him up and down, just oh.
So yeah,
That would
gunman.
be a way to defeat a boss.
There, I will say one of your first boss fights is against Kichinosuke, who is Ryu Ga Gotoku, the big blonde hair dude, and it's in a bathhouse, and you're both completely naked with little clouds covering your behind and your crotch.
Amazing.
So-
Amazing.
That basically does happen. So gunman, there's just your basic attack, which is shooting. That ammo is infinite, but then you can do the heavy attack, which is using special ammo. That is not infinite. That you have to buy or you kind of find. That I also only would break out in like special occasions where it's like, oh, I have a second here. I need to create distance and do some quick damage. I would then pull out the gun and use the heavy ammo, usually on a boss that I was kind of struggling with. Wild Dancer, this is where I spent the vast majority of the game. This is your sword and your gun, one in each hand.
Yes.
It
please.
is fast and meant for offense and not great defensively, which is right up my alley. That is my playstyle in most games. So this one, it does a very quick like spin dodge, and it's all about creating a combo that basically doesn't end using that dodge. So you can do like 5 light attacks, then some like big spin moves, and then you have to do a couple dodges, and then you can get right back into that combo, and that keeps your combo going. And then as you kind of level up this fighting stance, you can basically make an infinite combo of just the light attacks, or you will attack faster, and it makes pretty fluid combat with this stance. And I also found I had way more success with bosses in this fighting style. Yes, Dave.
Is there the option with every fighting stance, the ability to just pick up random shit on the side of the road and just fight? Or is it like, is one stance more akin to working better with that?
Next up is Brawler. You use no weapons, just fists. This is the only fighting stance that lets you pick up weapons that are just like, and objects that are laying about. You can't do that normally in all the fighting stances. Just Brawler.
As their skateboards?
There are no skateboards.
Dang it.
I found Brawler, their whole thing was like it's high risk, high reward because it's just your fists. You could do the thing kind of like Snake style in Lost Judgment where they like come at you and you like push them to the side and then you can get a few hits like on their back. This I found I pretty much never used this stance. To me, this stance was completely useless, which I guess makes sense in a game where you're using swords and guns, but they wanted to have it's basically Kiryu's normal fighting stance, but it didn't work for me in this game. So definitely pushes swordsman, but I was all wild dancer, and the way it works is the more you use a fighting stance, the more orbs you will get for that stance. And that basically is your skill trees. They each have 4 separate skill trees.
Crackdown.
So I'm using the wild dancer. That will get green orbs. The more I use it, I will get green orbs, which can only be used in the wild dancer skill tree. If I use swordsman for a while, I'll get I believe that was red orbs that can only be used in the swordsman skill tree. Every time you level up, you get white orbs that can be used in any skill tree. And you can swap out the colored orbs for the white orbs. And okay, so all right, let's say I get a green orb, right? And in that skill tree, I have in the wild dancer skill tree, I have a bunch of white orbs. I could put a green orb in for a white orb, which will then let me use that white orb in another skill tree. So you pretty much always want to have the colored orbs in there and then place your white orbs wherever you want.
Makes sense. To me. Less confused now.
Great. We're getting somewhere. You get graded after each fight, and it really doesn't seem to matter for anything. It does like
achievements.
You get an offense grade, a defense grade, and a style grade. My issue with it is that if you got so powerful that, and of course they're just like random street enemies that come to fight you, you destroy them in like 2 seconds, you'll get C's across the board. Because I think it basically wants you like your offense and wants you to string together like a big combo. For defense, it wants you to do a lot of guarding and parrying or dodging. And for style, it wants you to switch between the fighting stances a bunch. So if you're really concerned about that, you'd have to like incorporate all that, but it really doesn't do it. Maybe you get like more experience for the higher grades, but it did not. I was getting a lot of C's and it didn't seem to matter.
Well,
there are dojos around Kyo, each focusing on specific fighting styles, all also kind of coming with their own little sub-stories. And that's how you unlock specific skills within the skill tree. So to go down certain paths in the skill tree, you will kind of hit a block, which is, oh, okay, to continue there, I'm going to have to go to the dojo, train a bit. So specifically for Wild Dancer, I would have to bring weapons of a certain rarity for him to be like, you're ready for the next step. And then I have the ability to unlock that skill.
Nice.
And I do want to touch on, while we're on combat, you do get special card abilities, but I will touch on that later because that is tied into a mini game.
Card abilities?
Yes.
Like
you get cards.
Building card abilities?
Yes. Very light, but yes.
Okay.
There are a lot of other gameplay things going on here than combat.
Oh, you have activated my trap card.
So, I guess we'll start with that. You do go around Kyo, and there are like restaurants, there's mini games, there's sub stories. You can eat in the restaurants as you do in Yakuza to regain health, and he does do the very notable when he's done eating. He's very happy after a meal.
He's so happy.
That's his happy noise. That's his happy noise.
He goes, which is like,
Amazing. Amazing.
Oh no.
Pops.
Yeah, he's very emotional and he loves his pops. Any chance he's getting, he's like, you killed Pops? Are you Pops' killer?
Prepare to
Really?
die.
Are you Pops' killer?
I gotta do this for Pops.
My name is Sajime Hajimajimaji. You killed my father.
Sakamoto Ryoma.
Kill you too.
There is virtue in this game. You get virtue for doing literally everything. If you go to like a little spot around town and pray at it, you get virtue. If you do a mini game, you get virtue. If you eat at a restaurant, you get virtue.
Uh-oh.
If you buy things from the shop, you get virtue. If you sprint a certain distance, you get virtue. And you can use that to upgrade different things, such as you can get better fishing poles for the fishing minigame. You can increase your inventory size. You can increase the amount that you can sprint without getting tired. Things like that. You can equip different swords, guns, ammo types, and armor pieces. And there is a blacksmith, which is an in-depth crafting system, if you will. So, Dave, as you know in the Yakuza games, you will pick up materials left and right for doing nothing. They are just all over the place. That is where the materials come in this game. So, you have, let's use the katana, for example. You have your starter katana, and you have to use that katana and some materials to upgrade it to, it kind of like gets its own tree of like, which katana do you want to get from here? And then you have to use that katana you have and some materials to kind of pick your next katana. And they all have their own different like offensive stats or open slots to put like these enhancements on them, which do like pretty much what you would expect from any game where you put enhancements on weapons. It'll like a certain percentage increase for attack damage or health, defense, that type of stuff.
Does this game have the little P.O. box keys sitting around to go find some cool stuff when you bring them back to the boxes?
There is no P.O. box system.
Damn.
It does have, through a sub-story, a mailman delivery game where you have to sprint in a certain amount of time to all the people and deliver their mail.
And it's super dramatic because it's
Amazing.
Yakuza.
Well, yes. So this guy sprained his ankle because he bumped into you. And he's like,
You
my
must
company's
deliver all the mail now! You are Santa Claus, Tim Allen!
Well, if his company was going to close down if you did not deliver his mail for him. It was a big deal. They were on their last straw.
You found me in the most peculiar circumstance. I'm gonna die. And my company's gonna die if you don't bring this to 14 Washington Avenue.
So, yeah. So you go and deliver the mail for him. He's like, wow, you're good at this. And then you bump into him again a few hours later.
My other ankle!
No, further into the game, he comes running up to you and he's like, oh, hey, thanks again for the other day. Like, I'm feeling better. Appreciate it. And this crew, the Black Panther Delivery is the name of their company. They're the monopoly mail delivery service in the area. And they're crushing the competition. And they start challenging you to like one at a time, like they're captains, if you will. You have to race them in your mail delivery, because if they're faster than you, that will ruin your reputation and no one will ever want to use your delivery service again.
Imagine standing by the window waiting for your
Amazing.
Amazon package, and like Amazon and UPS are absolutely just clashing swords in your front yard, and you're just like, man, I really want my soap. Like,
That's basically what it is, yeah. That's what it is. There's these two mail delivery people sprinting across town, trying to get the mail to the person first.
are you running on
didn't
top
know
of roofs? Like, are you being like a demon
No.
slayer, like just
It's
jumping back and forth?
You're not
I
doing
did know
that.
one delivery person that always sprinted. He was very much in shape.
I will. So I don't know
Terrifying.
if they still do this, but I do know. I don't remember if it was. I think it might have been UPS. They do kind of encourage like, get to the house, run that package up, run back to the truck, get moving.
Oh god. No, I think he just did it by himself. He was the only one who did it, and he was known as the guy who was always running.
Well, hey, he probably got his work done pretty quick.
Yeah, probably.
This package isn't supposed to be there till tomorrow, but I'm getting it there today.
So there is still, all that Yakuza stuff is in there. Instead of taking taxis around town, you take the palanquin bearers, which are pretty much these two guys that carry you in a box and run you to your next your next spot instead of taxis. But
I
it
like
works
that.
exactly the same.
Is it like a coffin? Like, are you getting into a coffin and they're just
No, it's actually looks like a
fucking-
pretty small box where you'd have to like kind of like bring your knees up to your chest to get in there.
Amazing.
I want him to
and-
trip in the first cutscene, and then I'm not using this service ever again.
They sprain their ankles, and now you have to be the taxi driver.
Please carry yourself where you have to go.
It's worth noting this plays a lot like an older Yakuza game. You can't run away from enemies once the fight starts. It is not the Dragon engine.
That's
There's
my
no
biggest
seamless-
gripe. How the fuck
So-
do you release this game and it's not in the Dragon engine?
You know, it actually has a very Dylan tie-in.
It's
The
daytime.
reason, yes, that's the reason they use Unreal Engine 4 instead of their Dragon engine. The Dragon engine was designed for a bright neon nighttime city, as we know as like Kamurocho. It wasn't made for a daytime Dylan game, and this game is mostly a daytime Dylan game. It is almost always daytime.
So this is just made for you.
Apparently,
Made for
yeah.
you. Amazing.
At the end of the year, can we have your top 10 and then your top 10 daytime? Like,
Yeah.
that's
I-
what I,
I
want.
would-
Please.
I'll do a top 10 daytime games.
Good.
At least top 5. That would be cool.
Doke V, Doke V, Doke V, Doke V.
I don't know at this point if that's coming out this year. It has
Yeah.
been radio silence on that. So yes, it's a daytime game. And they literally said like the Dragon engine for like sunlight coming through windows or sunlight hitting this type of thing and the way light works. It's not made for that. So they went with Unreal and they made it. It plays and acts a lot like Yakuza 0.
Are you gonna like flip out if they ever like make a game that takes place on the sun?
No, because that will just be a lava level then. Like that's all that is.
What
What
is your
What if it's like a
Ideal.
floating satellite or a floating city that is hovering and like orbiting the sun and it is never night?
yeah, what is your ideal daytime game?
Well, the Yakuza games when it's daytime is great. You pretty much put me in any sort of city, and it's daytime, and I'm happy. It brings me joy.
All right. Okay.
You let me run around GTA, it's daytime, great, I'm happy. Yakuza, I'm happy. Assassin's Creed, sure, I'm happy with that.
Ugh, Katana Zero.
Hi-Fi Rush, the opening level throughout the city, it's all daytime, it's bright out, wonderful, felt great.
Blanc,
OKB
everything
looks
is
amazing.
right.
Yeah, and then nighttime happens and it gets spooky and scary. And
Sable.
It's not Sable, yes, but different because of its art style.
And then when
But
it hits
also,
nighttime,
when it
ugh,
hits night, it's just broken.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't keep listening to our episodes because all we do is talk shit. That's the thing. We like Sable. It just looks like shit at night.
Yeah, I really liked Sable, and the art style is incredible when it's daytime. And then you hit nighttime, and it's hard to see anything, especially in a building. Anyway, back to this game. Sub-stories, they're here. They are in that kind of older style. They kind of, in the more modern games, get to a point where it's like, hey, here's this point on your map. Go here. There's going to be a sub-story. This is way more kind of the Yakuza 0 style of you'll be running around just doing your thing, and sub-stories will just kind of happen to you. People will just kind of approach you, walk down an alley, a little scene will happen. They are still ridiculous.
Are you an
very-
1860s director?
No, you don't do that. Well, maybe. I have not done all the sub-stories yet, so you could do something similar.
Mm.
But they're what you expect. They're wacky sometimes.
Maymen. Hey, I like the Maymen one.
Yeah. They can be touching sometimes. You save a dog from being killed. A different dog from the stone one that we were talking about earlier. This is a dog that barks all the time, and the neighbors were gonna put it down because they couldn't sleep because it wouldn't stop barking. So you start giving it bones to train it, and then it becomes quiet. It becomes a good boy.
No, I'd give
And then
those
there's
parents
still,
the
like-
fucking forever sleep if they wanted it. Like,
Well, so the dog became good, and you're like, good, you're nice and quiet now. Like we did this. I trained you. You're gonna be okay. Then you come up later, and the neighbors are like, no, we're still gonna kill it because there's always the threat of it doing that. I mean, it's just a stray dog, so we're just gonna like throw it in the river.
And then you punch him.
Actually, there was no fighting. You adopt the dog.
I saw that coming.
But
Can you
okay,
pet it?
fine.
Yes.
Good.
And
Yay!
we'll get back to dog territory later, but yes.
Can you Accio the dog?
No, there's no magic. Well, there kind of is magic. It's a Yakuza game.
Yeah.
Friendship meters, those are back. So that is
Before did we talk about, are there like the auras for the different fighting styles?
yes. They all have there's still heat. They all have their own colors. You will do heat actions. You will glow colors.
You will do heat actions?
Yep.
Yes. So those are the over the top. There's a heat meter that builds as you do combos and all that stuff.
You can
you'll
turn
start
the
glowing.
You can turn like the HUD and the UI off, and you know when you're about to hit there when you are just soaked in sweat.
Sweat and you're glowing.
Mhm.
There'll be like a bright pink border around you.
A little thing
And
will come
that's
out
when
and
you
it'll say
can-
you're pregnant, and that's why you're glowing.
That's why that's when you can activate all sorts of different heat actions, which you can unlock more throughout the games, which are the very over the top. You hit triangle in certain situations, and those are the very over the top moves that you may have seen from the Yakuza games. So the like, oh, this person's near a wall. I have heat buildup and I'm in this correct stance. I hit triangle. I will then it will cut to a cutscene. Usually it has a quick time event or two in there, but it is like, oh, now I'm going to do this cool move where I push them to the side, I kick them against the wall, I slice them with my sword, and then I shoot them a bunch against the wall. It's the very over the top.
Or like
types of
in-
moves.
like in
why are they
Judgment.
called heat actions?
You're riding your skateboard, you get off, you running up a hill, do a backflip, take the skateboard, slap him in the head, throw him upside down, tickle his butthole, and then he's dead. That's the best
No, they
one.
don't kill people. I don't know why they're called heat actions. Maybe it's because like you're in the heat of the moment in a fight.
Maybe I
And-
don't want to know. Maybe this should remain a mystery
It's
to me.
it is kind of like never really addressed. It's just something that exists
Can
in
we
the
give
world.
Lile her first foray into the Yakuza series by watching the movie?
No, don't do that as your first.
It's so good after you play like one or two games. It's amazing. But if you start off with that, you'll never want to play a single
As-
game.
No, as a movie on its own, it's not a good movie. But
So
as a
good.
fan of the games, it's just kind of ridiculous to watch in a very entertaining way.
There's like
I get that.
talking about last time, there's a store called Don Quixote that you go in and you can have just fights and stuff. In the movie, there's a good 20-minute sequence of just fighting in a Don Quixote, knocking shit over, and you see the aura around him, and they're doing these crazy heat moves, and it's so bad and low quality, but it's amazing.
There is a Don Quixote in this game.
1860s Don Quixote.
Yeah, you go there and they sell everything, and so as I was saying, friendship meters are back, which is a lot of like, oh, you frequent a shop all the time, your friendship meter with the shop owner will slowly go up and eventually lead to a whole sub story and a touching moment with them, and then you become good friends and all that stuff. But the Don Quixote's one has one because they have everything, and you're like, there's no way you really know where everything is in this store. There's no way. So it'll be like, where are the sandals? And they take you to the sandals and like, oh, right here. And you're like, huh, impressive. And then your friendship meter goes up a little bit.
I don't remember how it changed, at least inventory wise, based off something like Kiwami to Kiwami 2 with the engine change. How is it? Are you like still stocking up on like 40 health items and then just using them throughout?
Yeah, you're hitting up a pharmacy or a general store to get those health items, and they have all sorts of different like buffs you can do. Like there's no like stamina and X's. That's not what they are.
Yeah.
but it's the same type of deal. You can buy things to increase your heat meter if you want to.
While for
That
Yakuza
is-
games, it doesn't matter how strong the boss is. All that matters is how many health items you have.
Yeah, you always want to be stocked up on health.
Wow.
It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how many times you can drink a bottle in the corner of a room and come back and keep punching.
I mean,
Alright.
a lot of these games work that way, right?
Yes.
I
Who's
ju-
ready to talk mini games?
I'm just imagining
I
the
am.
boss fight where you're just like, oh, and then just running
just- That's just Skyrim, though.
back. Yeah.
Hold on, time out. I need a drink.
I need to eat a bunch of cheese wheels.
Guys, my blood sugar's low. Do you guys have anything?
Mini games.
There's a lot.
Uh-oh.
This is that it's a good thing. I love this. It's a big reason I love this franchise is the fact that you can just run around and play these mini games, and I just find it.
Dylan
So
doesn't play
immersive.
these games for the story. He doesn't play them for the characters.
Well,
All he
that's not
wants to
true. I
do is
also love
become
all
a
that.
realtor. All he wants to do is race go-karts. All he wants to do is play
love
mini
that,
golf.
yeah.
All he wants to do is go to the batting cages. Like, that's all Dylan wants to do. And he only wants to do it in the daytime. But that's okay.
I'll do it at night. I'm fine with that.
But it's better,
in the daytime.
Yep.
All right. So let's start off gambling. That's all here. There's always so much gambling in these games. So many different games that I don't know how to play. I will never be good at Mahjong. I will never understand it no matter how hard I try. That's here for
Did
the
the-
people that are into that stuff.
Did Yakuza 6 and whatnot, and did they have claw machines?
in Yakuza 6?
Or like the more
I don't
recent
remember if
ones?
they had them. So like Lost Judgment has claw machines. I was imagining Yakuza 6 does then. Like they're still there.
Because my question was going to be claw machines, and I was like, it's the 1860s. But you can make it happen.
No, there's no claw machines. I guess the closest is you find these prize tickets all over the place, and you can take them to this place where they'll spin kind of like a bingo style thing, and a colored ball will come out. And depending on the colored ball you get, that's what your prize will be. So there's like rarer ones, or most of the time you're just getting
Bingo!
scrap paper. Yeah, it's like the big
I
thing.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
So lots of gambling. You can go ahead and do that. It's pretty much all the gambling games that are in the Yakuza games. Wood chopping. So this is pretty much for money. Someone will hold the log for you, and you will raise the axe. And as you're raising the axe, it will glow and make like a noise, and that's your cue to hit the button to strike. For each session, you can do up to 100 logs, and so like if you miss, it won't count as a log, but it will kind of reset the whole combo, the chain, if you will. And if you keep the chain going, it just gets faster and faster and faster. So of course I sat there and did that until I got the full 100 chain in one go, as I do. It seems like you could just endlessly repeat that for just money. So it's a pretty quick way to grind out money.
Anything that's close to a rhythm game.
Oh, this had me happy. Well, all sorts of timing based stuff. Fishing, just like the older games, you can go river fishing or sea fishing, and there are different shapes of fish and different, depending on how like far away they are, will determine what type of fish it is. It is the typical cast your reel, bobber will go down once at a certain point. You catch it. Fishing is important for something else we'll get to.
Is it a good mini fishing game?
It's a standard fishing mini game. There's not much depth to it.
Okay.
There's not like you hit the button and then you have to like fight it to reel it in. It's literally the bobber goes down. Once it's in the red zone, you hit X and then you catch fish.
Okay.
There is the singing bar, which is it's karaoke. They're like, oh yeah, you come to this bar, you can drink, and people can just go up and sing songs. Maybe this will catch on one day. But it's just a karaoke minigame. That's all
Maybe
it
it'll
is.
catch on someday.
Karaoke it's horny.
It's horny.
Yeah.
The karaoke is horny.
They usually they're good for at least one of these in each Yakuza game, to where the final song will be so it plays like a pretty typical rhythm games where like the line moves across the screen and you have to hit the button prompts as the line hits that prompt, and there will be like in the background will be like him on stage singing and doing ridiculous things. He'll be farming or something. It'll be like a dramatic music video. The last one is they're all good for one of these. It is real footage of real people, attractive Japanese ladies doing suggestive things. And was by far the hardest song. So I'm sitting in the room, with my girlfriend in the room with me. And I'm just like, listen, I have to keep playing it to get a good grade. I promise that's all it is.
Honey, I'm just getting really distracted. Let me try it a few more times.
And
yeah,
so
okay.
It gets
horny jail.
Oh, you wait till horny jail.
Oh,
that's
wait till the fucking mini game.
Basically, there's also dancing, which is buyo dancing. It's a form of dancing. I don't know. He gets on stage with a fan, and it's just him and his fan dancing.
His biggest fan.
That's fabulous.
not the fan, the person, the fan, the object that you use to cool yourself down.
Oh, like an oscillating one.
Oh yeah, yes, just like that.
Gotcha.
It's crazy. They have that in 1860s Japan. They're really ahead of the times. And you dance with it. This is also a rhythm game, but a very different one. So you have 2 sets of circles on screen. One is for the face buttons and one is for the D-pad. And the notes will basically oscillate out of the center of those circles. So like if it's going up on the right, once it hits the line, you have to hit triangle. If it's going down on the left, once it hits the line, you have to hit down on the D-pad. So this one is definitely more complicated, and you have to like look back and forth between both sides and keep up with it that way. There's only 3 songs though, which was kind of disappointing.
Huh.
But it does kind of have its own sub story to it and everything. But I was happy to have 2 different types of rhythm games.
I'm just glad that I'm manipulating your vocabulary.
Yeah, I know I'm growing.
You said oscillating. That's the biggest word I've heard all year.
You said oscillating.
I said oscillating first, and then Dylan had to say oscillating. He just wanted to sound so
smart. Did you say oscillating already?
I said the fucking fan, bro.
Oh yeah, I guess that's what put that in my brain. I just didn't even realize.
And to which oscillating, I don't know if that works for what you're trying to describe.
I don't know if it does either.
Do you know what an oscillating fan does?
That's the way it kind of like.
All right. Do you know what a colander is?
I do now.
Me too.
Good job, Lyle.
And you also know what this is now.
Yeah, das Kissen, and it's not in a fucking bag.
It's not.
There's an udon serving minigame.
What's udon?
Noodles.
It's food.
Ooh, okay.
So you are working at this shop for this guy, and people place their orders, it's basically a memorization minigame to where along the bottom will be like the button will correspond with a certain dish, so it'll be like XX square triangle, and then it goes away, and then a timer bar starts to fill pretty quickly, and you have to be like XX square triangle real quick, and then it gets to a point where there's like 8 and it's moving really fast.
You know, all of these games, I'm old. How am I supposed to play these?
I do know of this one. This is like the only minigame of this game that I have seen.
Oh, you've seen it.
I do know what you're talking about in this sense.
Fast reflexes, Lyle.
Yeah, I'm too old. I've never been good at those anyway, and now I'm old, and I will never be able to play one of these games.
Well,
Lyle,
if it makes
never play a Dark Pictures game. You will kill every character.
Yeah, I do always kill every character because I'm so bad at these games.
Those quick time events in those games are criminal. They are bullshit.
They are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It'll add an respect. No, dead. Sorry.
Sorry, you missed it. You should have been ready. I don't care if you were scratching your leg. Fuck you. Should have paused.
I will say that specifically the rhythm games, each song does kind of have a difficulty to it. So you can put it to pretty easy and still enjoy singing on stage.
You say that. You say that, and now I will play it, and then I will be super disappointed because you said it was easy, and then I will sit there and be like, I cannot do that.
If you want a good QuickTime event game, just to like get yourself in like to really get yourself started, you should try either Sekiro or Elden Ring.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, yeah.
Those are the games to start with.
There is chicken racing. It is basically horse racing, and it goes. This is the one I played the least, other than the gambling mini games that I didn't touch. Because
are there really tiny people on the back of chickens racing them?
No. It's a crowd of people standing around chickens running in a circle. But it plays. It is like in depth of like. You could choose the winner. You can choose a sequence of winners. You can choose the top 3 winners. You can look at their past performances to see how that chicken has been performing and use that to influence your decision of who you're betting on.
So it's basically another gambling game.
It is, yes, it is. That's why I did it like once or twice. I was like, I don't get it. I don't know gambling. So I do want to go back and do that because the person working there does have a friendship meter, and they're like, "Oh, come back, and I'll give you some tips." So I do wonder if they start giving you tips that help. But I didn't understand. The arena is back. There's always an arena in these games. There are different tournaments of fight this sequence of kind of mini bosses. You can't use any healing items. You can't have your armor equipped. That type of stuff. There is the 100-man battle, which is fun. It's exactly that. You have to pick one style going into a fight and fight 100 enemies at once. Not all at the same time. They usually come in waves of like 15 or 20 with a mini boss thrown in the middle of them. And I just barely did that. I had a very small amount of health left at the end, but I was happy with completing it.
Nice.
Cannonball slicing and shooting. Here's your baseball mini game. There's a guy on a cannon, and he's like, check this shit out. Everyone that's tried this has died, but you look like you can handle it. So he shoots cannonballs at you, and you hold your sword. You're not holding like a baseball bat. You like have it here, and then you unsheath it and slice a cannonball at the right time as he shoots them at you. Eventually, you unlock feather balls, which are cannonballs with little wings, and they go all crazy all over the screen before reaching you to slice it.
Golden snitch.
And and then there's
golden
shooting.
Bastard.
So there are gold ones that give you more points.
Oh shit.
And then there's shooting the cannonballs, which is that you have like your reticle that you don't actually control, it like moves on its own, and then as the balls cross over the reticle, you shoot. That was fun. I liked that one. The shooting was a lot easier than the slicing.
I imagine slicing a cannonball and making a bunch of sparks would not be ideal for a cannonball, would it?
It's all right. You slice it in half. You're
the
powerful.
cannonball is just the object itself. It has nothing on it to make it combust. It's just there to,
I guess.
Now,
I
if
will
it was a
say
50 cal cannonball, this might be a different story.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Totally. All right. This is where things get real horny.
Horny jail.
Yeah, you can go to a brothel. And this one is 3 mini games in one. So you always meet with this girl, Anna. And it starts out as you're just drinking some sake together, which is a mini game, which is there's like a meter and you have to hit X or circle to try and keep it in the middle, or else if it goes too far one way, you'll spill your sake all over you. And then she's like, oh, well, that was fun. See ya. Based on Dave's face, I think he's reading ahead to what happens here.
Oh, no.
The second mini game, if you complete that one, the second mini game is rock, paper, scissors. Strip, rock, paper, scissors. So it's the first to win 5. And out of 3 of the 5, they do like this whole dance and little song leading up to it. And then towards the end, you can 3 times use your third eye. And it slows down time. So you can kind of see that like She's building it up. Oh, it's gonna be scissors. I'm gonna throw down rock. You could do that for 3 out of the 5 times, and then basically she switches it up so much that you could just use the same one after that to make sure you win 5 in the end before she does. You do that, and then that's when the sexy time happens, which it's Galaga. There's all right. Ryoma's at the bottom of the screen. It's just him, and he's shooting up. It was, I think, love lasers or love blasts, and
What color are they?
I think they were like a blue.
Oh no, it's been too long.
And there's a heart moving side to side across the top of the screen, and you have to blast through her distracting thoughts of like politics and things to shoot the heart. And when you shoot the heart, you get you get hit with moaning sounds. And there's 3 stages to that, and you complete that, and you had a good time. If you don't complete that, she's like, "Are you tired? It's a shame to end it so early."
Trying to turn on this woman, and she's thinking about the systematic oppression in her country right now.
Yes, yes. That's what's happening. You have to blast those thoughts away.
No, stop thinking about. Come for me.
Oh God.
That's yeah.
Ooh.
Well, that's
like oppression.
Jail.
That's more Space Invaders. This was much faster paced than that.
Systematic oppression.
Like yes, it was like that.
What's happening? Systematic oppression.
That is what was happening. All right, who's ready to talk about trooper raids after that?
I feel icky now.
I feel like my heat bar is full.
No, you don't. You absolutely do not feel like that.
Every single one of these games has its horny mini game.
You can't tell that I'm sweaty and glowing right now? Tell me more.
I don't see your aura yet, so
don't worry, Dave. Wrong. I'll have something that'll kill this for you.
Yeah,
so trooper raids.
Please.
This is where the card system comes in. So as the captain of the 3rd unit of the Shinsengumi, you are in charge of these raids. So you have
that's just a bad number. I don't trust 3rd units.
You have your troopers, and you can basically assign 4 cards to each fighting style. So you'll have like the commander, which will give all the cards a special like buff or skill, and then 3 trooper cards that all come with their combat abilities. So they all have like different classes of like, this is a combat card, this is a support healing card, this is more of a defensive card, and you can set it to they all activate automatically if you want, which I appreciate because I didn't have to give it a second thought. I would just be doing cool shit. So like my main attack was shooting lightning out of my hands, and it would chain from one person to another and electrocute all of them, and then most of them would just fall to the ground, and then I could just slice them all up while they're on the ground. Another one was basically leeching life off people, so you do like an attack on them and health goes from them to you, so they lose health and you regain some. And then Dave, here you go, Kenny Omega is here. He is a card, probably my favorite modern day wrestler. And it is a lot of fun. It's the essence of the one-winged angel, which is his finishing move in wrestling. And as you activate that, it does like a big circular slash. It's a defensive one, so it kind of pushes back a bunch of enemies that are surrounding you. And his portrait comes up on the bottom of the screen, and he does goodbye and good night bang, and like a text box is just kind of like his thing in wrestling. So that was a lot of fun. I always had Kenny Omega equipped.
So is this like you have a bunch of people with you and you're going on raids, or are you alone and you're doing those special cards?
Once you unlock this card system is not just with you on these raids, but throughout the whole game.
Ah, okay.
And no, they're not like actually there in person with you. They are just these cards, and then they'll activate, which again, you can set to manual if you choose to. You have to like do enough attacks and then a meter fills up and then the skill can be used. I just always had it on auto activate,
All right.
which worked like pretty well. It activated at smart times for the most part.
Good.
But then there is the actual raids, which are kind of like these mini dungeons that you go through. So like it introduces it to you like there's this bandit cave. These bandits have been messing with us, all that stuff. You go through the cave. You usually get a bunch of materials by doing this, and there's a mini boss at the end that you fight. And then there's a whole bunch of levels like that. The cards can all be leveled up. So same type of deal. The more you use them, the more they'll level up. Kenny Omega is already at max level when you get him, which of course he is. That makes sense. And there's different like rarities. So Kenny Omega is of course the top rarity, as he should be.
Of course.
And then there's like the bottom ones. Those can only go up to level 40, I think, and then the next is like level 60. Kenny Omega's max level is 99, and he's level 99 because of course. So yeah, that is it. I do like that you can really go in depth with that if you want, which I'd imagine you kind of have to on hard difficulties. I just played on normal. But you can set like each fighting style to its own set of cards, and those sets of cards I'd imagine can work really well together if you decide to go that route. I just picked the ones that I thought were cool and rolled with that. But I'm sure you can get really into, because I'm also imagining in hard difficulties you're having to switch between the fighting styles way more often and trying to like build that whole shebang. Dave, I need you back. Kenny Omega's done.
I'm busy. I'm trying to. I got bored, so I started trying to draw you. I didn't get
That's
that.
me.
I didn't get that far.
Now this is the big game, which is Another Life. So you come across this priest. He's this dude that showed you like this whole virtue system, and he's talking with this girl, this younger girl, who's like, her parents died. She inherited a shit ton of debt from them. The priest is like, you have to sell your house. I know how much the house means to you because of your parents and everything, but you have to. And you, being the hero you are, you roll up and you're like, I got you. Let's make a deal. I can use this house. It'll be my house, basically. As like a little getaway house. But you live there still, take care of the house, and I will pay your debt off for you.
And I will be your pups.
So this ties in. The girl is Haruka. Yeah. So she is starting in, what was that? Was it the first or the second Yakuza where she's introduced?
Because Kiwami won.
Okay, so the first
one.
She in the Yakuza games, she is
like your adopted
basically
daughter.
She's your adopted daughter.
You just kind of found her, and you're like, shit, my problem now.
So that's basically what happens here. She is just like, she doesn't have her 1860s counterpart. She is still just Haruka, and she just takes care of this house. And the more you do with this house, the more like bonding cutscenes you'll unlock, where you kind of grow into that father-daughter relationship that you have in the Yakuza games with her. So now there's all sorts of mini games involved with this. So you have a farm, and you grow crops on the farm, and it's a grid, a square grid, and each crop is a different size and shape for that grid. So you have to try and fit in the crops that you want to grow into this grid. And each crop takes a different amount of time to grow, and each will give you a different number of crops from the harvest. Then there's cooking, which you can use fish that you caught and crops that you grew to cook dishes, which is its own timing mini game of like, hit X at the right time on this bar to chop up the crop, and then get the fire going and pour stuff, and it's all its own set of mini games. And then there's the orders that you take, which is Haruka's parents' business that you kind of take over, where people place orders for different crops, different food dishes, different fish, or different just various items you can find in the game. And as you complete those orders, once you complete a certain amount, the debt collector's like, all right, I'm ready for the first payment. You pay it. Then you do a whole bunch of other orders. Then eventually it's like, all right, I'm ready for the second. And that's how you kind of pay off the debt. This comes with its own set of upgrades through virtue. So you can upgrade the farm by increasing its size or making crops grow faster, or you put up a scarecrow to increase the crops that you get because then they're getting destroyed. Same thing with the kitchen. You can unlock more higher success rates with better kitchen equipment. The best part is that you can get a dog house or a cat bed. And that's where that dog comes in that I told you about that you rescued earlier. So you get a choice between 3 names that you can name it, which was Barky, which I didn't like that. It was Nightmare, and I was like, no, that's kind of mean. You're calling it a nightmare because it was, barking all the time. Or there's Wander. So of course I chose Wander.
Aww.
You bring Wander in, you can play with Wander, you can feed Wander, you keep him happy, and he will get rare items and equipment for you. Oh God, that's disgusting, Dave. I look like an old man, but also a baby.
Yes.
I kind of struggled with the mouth, but
This dude is so busy. Like, he's doing all of these things taking care of a daughter too.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's always him. You can also find, once you save that one dog, you can go and find other dogs to save. So
why are there so much dog oppression? Systematic dog oppression. That's why she can't come.
In the really, sketchy area, you find a dog that's just hurt on the ground, and you have to keep revisiting it a few times to give it healing items to regain it back to health, and then you can bring it back. You can find cats to bring home. You can have up to 3 dogs and 3 cats.
Aww.
And you can also have a chicken coop, which they just give you eggs. You don't find chickens out in the world to bring home.
Dang, this dude is living the life.
Oh, yeah. As you do all these things, or really every time you go to the house, Haruka's trust meter with you goes up. And the more you're raising it, the more you're kind of unlocking these scenes of, spending time with her, actually getting to know each other and building that bond that was something that really, father-daughter bond. She starts calling you uncle pretty quickly, which is I'm pretty sure she was doing in the Yakuza games. Mm-hmm. So it's a play on that. It's cute. Everyone loves Haruka. Everyone loves that relationship.
And she becomes a massive star.
Not in this game.
No.
All right, we're getting to the end here, guys. This has been a lot.
I'm not as confused as I was in the beginning, so
that's good.
That's good.
Oh.
This is what's happening here is if you're understanding this, you basically know what Yakuza games are. They're all this. It's what this is.
Yeah, I had a very, very basic understanding of them. I mean, I still have no idea who all these people are, but
yeah. So when it comes to the music, it's a blend of that kind of upbeat, fast-paced music for fighting, but kind of mix it with traditional Japanese music, which it's fun. It's not super memorable, but it works for what it is. Visually, this game looks a lot and acts a lot like Yakuza 0. I will say, outside of the big cutscenes, there were some mouth animations that weren't great, which was just the typical, just just the mouth opening and closing generically without actually moving to real sounds.
Yeah.
But as always, once you hit a cutscene, this game looks incredible. The cutscenes and the work they do with them is very impressive. They always look really good.
There's never going to be anything better than the liquid pouring animation from Kiwami 2. There was never going to be. That shit still blows my fucking mind.
I did have a few performance problems, but nothing major. So sometimes when you're doing a big move with one of your abilities, like the big lightning chain I told you about, if you have a crap ton of enemies on screen and you do that and they all get chained with electric, frames will drop when that happens. And then they're done being electrocuted and it gets back to where it should be. I did have a couple times where... So, Dave, you know how a lot of these games are hitting X to fill the text box? And then you read that, and then you hit X to get to the next one because it is all in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a couple times where I'd hit X once, and it would just skip to the next box.
Oh, timing thing?
Yeah, but if it was not like I'm hitting it too quick or I hit it one too many times on accident, it was like a game thing that was thinking I hit the button too many times, but I only hit it once. To the point where I even switched controllers. I was like, is this controller fucked? But no, it was the game.
That happened to me actually a lot in Hogwarts Legacy. I missed a lot of dialogue from that same problem.
So I didn't miss too much. I never missed anything important. It's really hard to miss important things because things get repeated so much in these games or always changing that you're okay.
You're just playing the same game again, but with swords and guns now. Like, that's the only difference.
It's like pretty much. And I did also have a couple times for some reason where in scenes it would like cut to something and it would either be all black with just a text box on the bottom, or like it would flash in and out black and the actual scene. That happened like 2 or 3 times throughout the game. Which was distracting, but not like, the game never broke. I never had a game crash. I never had an issue with my saves. All right. Final score, guys. 8 out of 10.
No.
I think that this is a very solid game. A lot of fun if you are a Yakuza fan. If you're not a fan of the franchise, I'm sure this game will be entertaining, but a lot of the entertainment is like, oh, hey, look, that's Majima. What's Majima doing here in 1860s Japan? A lot of those character reveals will mean nothing to you. There's a crap ton of cameos that I didn't even touch throughout this game, just random people from the franchise. I think it can be enjoyed for the story itself, but it's a lot more fun as a Yakuza fan. But flip side, the other side of that coin is that as a Yakuza fan and knowing these characters and what they're like, it's a little predictable in the sense that, like, oh, hey, maybe this guy's presented as bad right now, but I know him from the games. He's not bad.
Yeah.
Turns out he wasn't a bad guy. So that stuff was, like, the twists were a little more predictable in that sense. Also, I guess if you knew the history, you kind of knew what was happening here. But I can't say I was an expert in 1860s Japanese history.
What?
Yeah, you kind of had to be there.
This game was a kind of a big reminder for me that it's very hard to replace Kiryu as your main character. I think Yagami from the Judgment games is great. He is totally doing his own thing. Ichiban is fun, but the presence of Kiryu, because he's pretty much Kiryu in this game. Yes, he's Ryoma, but he's still that.
He is the Yakuza games. He just is.
Like his just pure drive to do good, no matter how reckless it may be or naive, while also just being extremely badass and having this presence to him. Like, it just, and the speeches he gives, you just can't.
On the other side, it doesn't help that the game is made by a Japanese studio who loves to make absolutely outrageous and iconic scenes. And I will never forget not only the dog, like, catching the rock, but when Kiryu finds out and he slams the table, gets up, and slams the door to the point where it closes, then opens back up again. I fucking love that. Like, you can't do that with Ichiban. You can't do that with Yagami. No, that's Kiryu.
Like, yeah, and I just from the games I played, I do like Yagami better than Ichiban. Kiryu is still the best. So we'll see. I mean, the franchise did act like it was going to move on without Kiryu, and then brought him back immediately. So we'll see how that goes moving forward with another spin-off game coming and Yakuza 8 being split between Kiryu and Ichiban. So
do we have a Nani count by the time credits rolled?
There weren't a lot of Nanis.
Really?
Yeah.
That's. But when they were used, was it like, yeah?
No.
No.
No, there was not a single memorable Nani that I remember.
The fuck, man.
Let's get to some write-ins.
As everything goes over Lyle's head.
Yeah, now I'm confused again.
Nani is basically like the what?
Yeah.
Oh.
They have some very dramatic like Nani? Because I will say also translated to English, I don't know how well these games work because they are delivered. The lines are so dramatic that it would be like, what? In English in a way that's like, All right, that's not hitting the same.
Okay.
Imagine just like, Nani. What?
What?
But
As you
All right.
like, oh, Nani.
write-ins. Nave from the Gaming Together podcast, which is at Game Together Pod on Twitter, just says minigame.
That sounds like
Yes.
something they would say.
Yes, Nave is correct. There's a lot of minigames here. There's a good amount of minigames. I'm very happy with them. Dave from Tales from the Backlog at TFTBL Pod on Twitter says this game's version of the batting cages minigame is slicing cannonballs out of the air with your sword. 10 out of 10. Yes, it was a fun spin on the batting cages minigame. And Hopple, I don't know how to say your tag there, at Aotearos. It's at AOTEAROAS on Twitter. Asks, how many cats and dogs did you rescue and bring to your little farm? So unfortunately, I was working on the meters with a bunch of them. I only have Wander, the first dog that I found that kind of starts that whole thing, just due to the time that it took for me to have this game ready for the review and done. But you can have up to 3 dogs and 3 cats, I believe, on your farm. So that I will be filling that farm up. All right, before we end this, let's get into some fun facts and news that were surrounding this game. So I was surprised by how accurate it was historically. As in, like, all the major political events were real, the people were real. For example, so Sakamoto Ryoma, very real. These events happened. He was a master swordsman in real life. He had huge implications on the political system in Japan at the time. He did at some point have to use an alias, not because he was blamed for the death of Pops, but he did have to use an alias. But it wasn't Saito Hajime like it was in this game. Saito Hajime was an entirely different person who was also a real person, who was a captain of the Shinsengumi, and they kind of combined the real person of Ryoma and Saito Hajime into one for this game. And without getting into spoilers, based on their history and the run-ins of those real people they put a fun twist on that.
Okay.
On that becoming one person instead of being 2 people that were separate in real history. This game was almost never brought outside Japan for a couple reasons. The main one being that they thought it would be extremely difficult for people to follow. Basically saying, because there's a lot of political concepts here, a lot of it's confusing. I will say, to be fair, I find some of the Yakuza games in general to be confusing with their, like, the Tojo political system that they have going on and all the different families. It's in line with that. But they basically said, like, within Japan itself, this is kind of hard for people to follow. So we don't know how well this would do outside Japan. But apparently Ghost of Tsushima happened, was very successful, and taken very well in Western audiences. And that gave them more confidence. Like, yeah, we can do this.
People outside of Japan might like. Oh God, I am so sorry.
Hello.
This is a representative of someone outside of Japan right now.
Yeah.
No, this
and
is.
He's so excited for.
We're gonna have to save this dog.
Catch the rock.
What name? What are we gonna name it?
Wander.
You already have one.
Or the Barky. Or Nightmare.
Can't have to.
That
I'm
does
sorry.
it. No, I wasn't sighing for you. I was sighing for this review. To crunch and get this ready. I told you guys already before we started the episode, but 15 hours straight of playing on Friday, another 10 hours on Saturday, and then doing the review, and we're recording Sunday morning. I'm glad to have this review done.
I can imagine.
It's funny with how long some of these docs end up being, because going from Hogwarts Legacy to Blanc, and then we're coming up to Ishin. I don't know how in-depth Pale Beyond is going to be, but I know when Atomic Heart happens, it's going to be a big one.
I mean, I tend to shorten these no matter how long the game is usually, so...
For one
It
of the
also
upcoming
depends a
ones,
bit on how much I liked it.
this is true. There's one of the ones that I want to do upcoming, and thinking about it through the episode, I'm like, I should probably cut out a lot of stuff because it's gonna be too long.
Yeah.
It can be very easy to get carried away with these in-depth reviews.
And with two
But
other
it's-
people
it's
talking
fun.
about it and just
Yeah.
pushing it further.
All right, notable game releases. I'll kick us off with Figment 2 Creed Valley. This is that I don't know anything about the first Figment, but this is one of those games where like everything in the world kind of moves to the music. I don't necessarily think it's a rhythm game in that sense, but it looks cool. That is coming March 9th to PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
Also, on March 9th, Clash Artifacts of Chaos, that really weird first-person, third-person brawler, Toe Jam and Earl, ear fungus type looking dude. It seems like Yakuza on like mushrooms or something. Like, I don't know, it seems nuts. But
Sure.
that'll be coming out March 9th on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One.
Yeah, and then we have Barotrauma, which is finally releasing out of early access. I feel like this game has had its time and it's gone already, but now it's releasing finally on March 13th, 2023 for PC, Mac, and Linux.
I don't know Barotrauma.
I don't know.
It's
what
like
that is
this
either.
U-boat supernatural game where you can be like an engineer, and then you have to do engineer things, so you can be the captain, and then you need to navigate the U-boat and stuff.
Gotcha.
U-boat Among Us.
I think I'm getting nope. But I think I'm getting the type of game that this is.
Yeah.
And finally, for anyone who cares, if you haven't been playing it on PC, Valheim is finally coming to console after way too fucking long, in my opinion. March 14th, 2023, only coming to Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One. Fucking
All right.
Woo!
All right, we're leaving. That's it.
Goodbye.
Next week, Atomic Heart.
Oh,
No, don't show us that again. That looks like Gollum.
Yeah.
This is Dylan's column. Dylan.
If anyone wants to see Dave's rendition of me as Gollum, come to our YouTube channel.
Look, if you were gonna talk about wrestling for more, Lyle, you would have been next.
I didn't even talk about the wrestling. I just
It
asked
doesn't matter.
Dylan.
I was bored and I needed something to do, so I was starting with Dylan. You would have been next, but he said we need you back here. I still kept drawing.
Okay, maybe I'm glad I wasn't next.
All right, join us next week, Atomic Heart. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Jaden Smith.